any form of CC hits, and you're going to be dead. Morgan opting into the Fiora, of which he already had a great game. One of a few Fioras that actually split pushes. Exactly.
Imagine that.
And overall, I gotta say, I love the DRX draft. I think you have a lot of lanes that you can play towards. You have an incredible amount of early game power. You have good poke. You have good disengage. The only thing you're lacking is actual hard engage, right? So if you fall behind and say your Jace isn't in the game, your Jax is set behind as well, then I think you're really going to struggle because either you come back to Fiora or Umti is going to be able to take complete control of the jungle. But outside of that, like the DRX comp here a lot, I think Brion is going to struggle in terms of priority in most of their lanes, except top, but top lane is, you know, top lane is top lane. It's not that big a deal at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see where that is maybe 15 minutes in the game. Unless Rascal gets a solo kill randomly, which he does sometimes. Morgan pretty good at that as well. And says your problems are over, your troubles are over. Let's go on a winning streak for DRX. Could happen. Could definitely happen. The Jace pick is very interesting that it's coming back into the meta this forcefully, I would say. The mid lane is cool for it as well because we saw so many mid lane bans, and the fact that you can actually pick an AD mid laner because you have the Elise, which is one of the few AP junglers that is available nowadays. And also it should be a very good matchup into Sylas, of which, you know, there weren't a lot of great AP mids that were left to go into that Sylas. That would have been great.
Overall, Bro should struggle in the early game. Still a lot of team fighting power though, so the dream of friendship lives on, Valdez.
Yes. Link hands and go on to the Rift, says Bro. We'll see how it goes as we jump onto the Rift for game 1. Here we go. Game number 1. Umti is no stranger to flashing walls. If Duckdom a little bit more forward, he would have considered it. But
that would have been something.
Duckdom can just take dash level 1 and probably just get away. Maybe if the Sylas came down.
Also, do note, Croco going for the PTA here. PTA skills worse, especially with the Elise being a solo piece. So if you go Electrocute, and you do find some early plays, get some early kills. Elise actually scales way better than many think in terms of damage. Playing team fight still going to be hard. Kind of have to be skittering on the outsides as a Spider would. But with the PTA, your first couple of levels are going to be way stronger at the cost of a little bit of a damage drop-off later on. But with this draft, I think you're all in on trying to find big leads early on and make sure that Brion never gets to play the game. So personally, a big fan of that rune setup in this given situation.
Couple of Storm Gatherers here on the side of DRX.
It's insurance policy.
Yeah. On the Jace and on the Lucian. Henna has a very high win rate here on Zeri. Keep in mind that, you know, Henna has been a pretty solid, I should say like long-standing, let's say. AD carry here in the Brion roster. And he played it through the Zeri OP meta as well. Even though Brion weren't getting tons of wins, they were still able to find 8 at least here for Henna's Zeri.
As early level 2 is indeed hit, as we have seen before. Yeah. Effort, another example here of the Lulu going for a really early lane focused. The bot lane meta really has devolved into who gets early prio. We've seen some more egregious examples with supports flashing in already, as I was leading towards. But Valdez,
you and I are linked.
Where we are linked, we spend so much time together. Pointing towards the tank item picked up here for effort is of course going to mean that really helping with reaching that level 2 early on. You can get the execute on the minion. Also going to help when the inevitable Lucian Nami power spike will come through, but might run into some more mana issues as Umti was, of course, spotted, so not going to be a lot of opportunity here. And Croco already utilizing the prio that he has in mid to try and go for some aggressive plays. And ooh, you do have an Elise. I like this angle.
Here we go. 4 ranged minions and a Dream. That's going to be everything missing, though. Karis was very well positioned, by the way. He knew it was coming. He was over on the top side of his lane, not near the wall where Elise was. He's able to avoid everything. Very nicely done in terms of a small positioning thing that can get you out of ganks. His top lane is actually going the way of Morgan so far.
Rascal looking a bit rough now. Now do note, again, they know where Umti is. Umti does just put down a ward, and Croco, for all his efforts, will not be rewarded just yet. I think Umti also placing a sapling there in the bot side jungle, so Croco will get spotted by that. Should be able to still take these wolves, though.
No.
Yeah, that's Elise.
Yeah. Hello again. And Croco, I mean, there's no real reason for him to leave because the top side of your jungle basically doesn't exist sometimes in this meta, where the bottom lane is just so important. So you're trying to get prio there. As speaking of which, Henna's going forward. He's getting really aggressive. Flashes right on top of Duck Dom. As does he have enough damage? Yes, he does. Henna just gonna dunk on the bottom lane of DRX.
And that's a really big moment there for the Bree on bot lane, able to find the all-in potential. This is why we see the lane focus summoners coming through. Dokdam and Barrel level down there. As a result, really big win. Henna picking up an early kill. This entire wave going to be lost to Dokdam. And that takes a lot of pressure off of Umti's back.
Yeah. It's a little micro play that we see very often, actually, in this exact lane matchup, where the Nami kind of just misses everything, including the bubble, and you just move forward instead of back. And it's like, uh-oh. This area actually can have more sustained damage in the long lane and has a way to just chase us down, as we're going to see right here.
Yeah, Dokdam is the one going in, and then Barrel unable. Nice dodge from Henna as well, obviously with the dash. Not a lot of good outcomes here for the bot lane, as we saw there. Thought Henna and Effort were level up, but didn't even need it. Still both level 3 as well, and just the early game power of that, which is weird to say, but it really kind of also highlights something that we have been very critical about, which is while we kept seeing this lane being picked into Lucian, and it was very similar to what happened the first time we saw Zeri, where we were all extremely skeptical, and then as time progressed and teams got more comfortable playing it, we're actually starting to see more of the power. Now, I do think that you're still not out of the woods yet as Bro, because you're still playing into a Lucian with Dirk, you're still playing into an Elise, but these type of moments do really help. As Morgan gonna get ganged up on here.
Yeah, he doesn't have level 6. He's just gonna ghost and try to run away, but he gets flashed on. Very nice riposte, but the slow here from the chase, and the flash from Fate will seal his fate. And Rascal is going to pick up that kill. The only issue is now that if you do commit so hard to the top side, your bottom side is just gone. So this will be a lot given over to Henna. A little bit of a trade opted into here by DRX.
So I'm not 100% sure. Personally, I really like giving the gold to the Jax. I do think this Jax versus Fiora matchup is extremely snowbally. And just off of this, Rascal now going to be able to get a monstrous back, going to be able to apply way more pressure in this lane. And we also saw DRX very consciously giving over that kill specifically to Rascal, right? As Fate spots Umti.
Oh, the flash. Fate doesn't have flash anymore because he used it in the top lane gank. As the damage should come out here. He lived for quite a long time. That's going to be Karis cosplaying as Jace, of course, as the Silas, and they give that kill consciously over to Karis.
Actually getting it with the ranged autos from the Jace. Very, very funny. Looks a bit ethereal there. Nicely done by Breon. Umti able to find a crucial gank here, actually punishing even further beyond just that bot play, the DRX top lane. And this is the point where we say, okay, it's probably not worth it anymore. If Fate lives, I think you can make an argument, but now Ghost gets popped by Morgan, he still hits level 6, and due to the fact that he still is bone plating, Ghost running as well, and Croco is a little bit behind, do feel the need to try and go in. Fate did have an inkling that this was happening, but yeah, there's no counterplay here. Really nicely done by the Bro mid-jungle duo. As quick zoom in there for style points.
Jace.
Really is payback.
Got him. Worked out pretty well. And the Silas, once it gets ahead, you get that early rod, and then all of a sudden, like in the mid game, you were just unkillable. So I think it's very important that he gets some wins, as now on the bottom side, look at the timing on their flashes. They both don't have it, as that's going to be the kill onto the Nami. Can they get more? Umpty's trying to take this one up, and he will do it perfectly. A double kill for Anna, who is now 3-0 on the Zeri.
Perfect timing there from Umpty, and this is exactly what we were asking for. Acceleration. Right, Umpty is the big instigator, and his bot lane already has done a stellar job this game, being able to punish Dogdom and Barrel in the 2v2. Add to that they get the punish on Fade, and now runs straight to bot lane, gets a double there, and overall the game state rapidly deteriorating for DRX. They'll be able to at the very least pick up this, but as I mentioned previously, if you do fall behind, and you're not going to be able to contest any early to mid-game objectives with composition, I think you're in really deep trouble, and you're really going to be reliant on Brielle making big mistakes.
First objective here. Going to go in the hands of DRX. They will pick up this relatively early Herald. The Chemtech Drake just hanging out. Nobody cares about him.
Chilling, yeah.
Yeah, nobody giving him any attention. Kind of unfortunate for him, but what can you do? Senna, obviously now, is not very scared, even though at this very moment they're on similar item levels. Still, even in the solo lane, Dogdom not finding an angle.
And for Bro, the one thing I'd be worried about is them playing a little too slow, right? That's, I think, their big trap that they sometimes tend to fall into, where they do have a lead, but then they give their opponent the time to scale up. And even though I do think that DRX is at a disadvantage, it isn't impossible, right? A single misstep, a high-value shock blast as Fade gets into the game, or into the later stage of the game rather. Dogdom or Barrel able to get that crucial kill force and mandate combo, which we always talk about, but it's so busted. It's incredible. And if Hannah missteps in the mid game, right, gets killed by the Lucian, Dogdom gets a bounty, then all of a sudden the game's playable again. But if Bro keep playing it out cleanly, the only trouble that they'll have is, well, what we're looking at right now, which is Rascal applying pressure inside, but Morgan is behind, sure, but not an insurmountable amount, and should be still able to hold the turret. So loving this early Drake take from, well, early based on their comp, not on the actual game timer, because it is, what, 13 minutes in, and we grabbed the first Drake?
Yeah.
11 minutes. Still,
I mean,
very late.
Top lane has been pretty interesting. I think Kroko's just going to put this down because Morgan got 3-man ganks, 1v3. He wasn't level 6. He had to run away. And yet he was still winning trades here against Rascal. Just having a ball of it. Such a Giga Chad that, you know, he requires 3 people to kill him down, and then he still is doing well in the lane. As Umpty is here, a little bit late to stop the Rift Herald push, but what are you going to do? No dive to come in onto the... oh.
11 health.
Yep.
Away from a plate. He gets Sun or any TP's back, so I'm pretty sure Rascal will be able to get that. That is a big spike, and make it a lot harder for Morgan now until he is able to find his own back. Umpty still in the general vicinity. Might make his way over, but they don't know where Kroko is, and as a result, do have to play it safe. If you get caught in the 2v2 and Jax picks up a double, you are dealing with some issues that maybe not even Zeri can fix, so...
Karis finds the chains. Fate taking a massive chunk, and he nearly gets shock blasted in the face. And that kind of missed, but maybe he was predicting the flash. You don't know, as Henna's coming forward. Now he's just going to assassinate the Nami. He's like, yeah, cool lane you got there. I've heard of Lucian Nami. Kind of oversteps there just a little bit, as Dogdom will get behind the turret, but... either way, as now we have more action in the top side.
Oh, Fate does FTP, but can only TP
here
to
we
the
go.
turret.
Yeah, Karis is coming on up as Umpty is eating so much of this damage. Rascal incredibly strong, though. As can they even kill this? Jax, I'm not so sure. The grand challenge goes off, but it doesn't matter, as Rascal is unkillable. They really underestimated how strong Rascal is right after that item spike, and that is going to be massive for DRX, as now chasing Karis down the lane. Kroko not quite able to hit anything. No cocoon available, so
such a tilter.
Gets away.
Bro, we're hard stomping this game. Right, like,
well,
Hannah and Effort just get another kill in the 2v2? Oh boy. So, because here we see exactly what the problem is. Beryl throws out a blind bubble, and Hannah's guys, we are very far ahead. Like, you can't do that.
Now you don't have a bubble.
You're not allowed. And then this, Rascal, currently sitting on a 2-level lead and Umpty 1-level lead. They feel safer because Karis is on his way, but Croco can stall for a really long time, and the power of Counter-Strike against Fiora, Silas, and even the Maokai with his passive right is just really high. They didn't even need Fate. I was worried that they were, you know, maybe going to trade back, but of all people, the kills go to Jax. And Rascal now is going to be a incredibly strong win condition by himself. 2.5k gold least almost available for this Jax. And you were fine as Morgan previously. I don't think you're going to be fine anymore. And now we have a very slanted kind of gold spread here for either team. It's going to be all about who is able to utilize their lead better as... Oh no.
Morgan still doesn't have an item. I mean, he is Fiora, so he's just going to...
He's going to walk it off.
He's just going to say, okay, goodbye. I'm leaving now. Yes, very interesting. 4-0 Zeri versus 3-0 Jax. It's not something you see all the time, especially in this day and age. And, I mean, I don't know. Like, the Elise got a ton of value in the top side, but their bottom side is just getting absolutely shreked. So,
and
on a relatively even footing, I feel like Bro is still in a decent spot, as long as they don't get their side lane absolutely boomed. Which...
Well, that ship, I do think, has sailed. But it's more about can Morgan just hold up. Still doesn't have Sunderer. So it really showcases how far behind he is. Jax already sitting on finished Merc threat, which is going to reduce the impact of any possible play that Umpty or Kars tries to make towards the top side as well. And has a core field, so Morgan now will finish his Sunderer on this next back, I'm pretty sure. But overall, if Rascal joins a fight now, it also makes the game way harder to play for Hannah, right? And that is, I think, the biggest issue, is that if they ever get caught off guard, we do have some issue. As Croco going for the Proto Belt here, not for the Night Harvester. I personally think that both items have their value. Proto Belt in terms, or Rocket Belt rather, in terms of its Mythic passive, I do think is a lot stronger. Going to be able to get a lot more penetration out of that. Also, the active, obviously, pretty fun.
It's very fun, yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how he's able to utilize it as, oh boy, might be having a 5v5 here.
Yeah, Bro are looking to take this fight here, which I feel like is pretty interesting. I mean, their Zeri is quite fed, but now they're trying to get onto the Jax. Maybe they can just 100-0 him here as the Nature's Grasp is going to hit a lot in that backline. They get no follow-up because of it, and DRX just cannot help Rascal at all as Umpty sets that up beautifully alongside of Kong.
Oh, DRX. And you know, got the shutdown was Hannah, of all people.
Yeah, he really needed more gold. He, he didn't really have that much. Yeah.
And overall, this game rapidly turning into, I don't even know. It's definitely a high-octane game compared to Bro standards. But for DRX, the questions that we have around their mid-game setup, their team fighting, are going to remain. They pick up a Drake here at least, which is nice. We'll also see which Rift will grace the Rift, which is a weird sentence to say, even though it is technically correct. And yeah, just Karis starting up the fight here, unfortunately, for Rascal. Yeah, just really nicely done, right? And even if they would want to try and get over the wall, not everyone is actually going to be able to. We also have Morgan kind of playing guard there on the edge of the fight, so very nicely done by Bro, overstep from Rascal. And when you are the most fed person on the team, it's not fair, but you're not really allowed to make those type of mistakes. Right, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, Rascal wants to play far up because he's the strongest. But if he oversteps, like happened there...
Yeah. Your only option in that case is you have to go forward. Otherwise, you're probably just going to die. Like, you're very fed, but you don't... It's not like you're a fed tank, right? So you still can get bursted down even as the Jax. And we did just see that in that fight, so... Definitely going to take a little bit of power out of that side lane here.
I do think the Hex stack, Drake, if DRX is able to maintain a semblance of control over this game, actually huge, because not only does it enable Jax to be even more oppressive than he already is, but having a Lucianami and a Jace with access to a Hex stack soul can be really big. if Bro get it, well, as mentioned, I already think their composition is pretty decently favored going into the later stage of the game, and Hextech Drake would even further solidify that. So for them, it's, you know, what you'd expect, but it does provide an angle for DRX, I think, to put themselves in a much better mid-game position. But looking at how the fights have gone thus far, I'm not feeling super hopeful that DRX will be in a good position to try and contest, as the Drake will spawn in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's just interesting. If you look at the gold numbers, you'd say, oh yeah, it's a pretty even game, but that's not really the way that the fights have looked, right? I think that Bro have just been a lot more coordinated. It's something we talked about a lot, right? Even before the match started. Also, their gold is heavily into the Zeri, which I feel like is going to have a bigger team fight impact than the Jax, unless Rascal can get like an amazing flank or a jump, you know, counter-strike stun onto the back line or something like that. So at the moment, it really does feel like Bro is in a great position here, as the tidal wave is just going to be picked up. Very nice pickup. Not a lot of great pickups for the Sylas in this game, so that'll be one of them alongside of the culling.
And overall, the current game state now returning a little bit to normalcy. We do have some sieging going on, but one of the downsides of the Bro composition is that without a Baron buff, their siege is pretty lackluster. This is something that in general you're going to have with Zeri comps, but especially if you add a Sylas to that, not really going to have much by the way of poke. And as long as DRX is able to find a way to maybe mitigate some of the impact, and that's where I do think it gets really hard of the Maokai ultimate. They might have angles into later stage team fights, but who can tank a Maokai ultimate, right? Like, who can the team stand behind? And the answer is not really anyone.
Nobody.
Yeah, because if you have a Sejuani, for example, then I think the impact is much lessened, as we see here.
Okay, well, we didn't want to see that. Anyway, continue Chronicler. Yeah, you missed every CS.
Oh, well, I was looking at the gold graph, so I was saved, unfortunately.
You were safe, yeah.
By our production team. So thank you, production team. I really appreciate it.
It just showed a very even game, right? The gold graph.
Yeah, just very up and down. But again, to me, Bro are overperforming because I don't think that their composition has no options, but Henna and Effort are seriously outplaying Dr. Barrow. Barrow in particular on this Nami, going for a lot of aggressive bubbles that I don't think you're really allowed to go for. And this is not new. This is what Barrow did last spring. We all know how that ended. As overall, it means that the situation for Bro is way better than it should be. And even if they were 2-3k gold behind, I think you'd still feel not too bad. We do now have, though, Rascal being able to continuously gain bot side prio because of him being way stronger than the Fiora sitting on the cleaver now as well. And if you can win this fight as DRX, that would be very big. Do have the rapid fire cannon done. Not quite having the Mana Mune on Lucian, or on Jace rather, just yet. But if
very close.
Yeah, if you can burst someone down, that would be big. This Drake, I think, really important here for DRX. Kind of a must-take if they want to maintain semblance of control over this game.
Kar's backing, he just picked up his Zhonya's. He had a stopwatch, so not a massive pickup for him, but at least is going to complete that item before we do jump into this fight, as everybody loves Hextech Drakes. The Hextech Soul is really awesome. The singular buffs that you get from the Drakes is really strong. As already Krako's is being burned down by Maokai, it's not a great feeling, as now he's at half health. And Krako's just not here. So I guess Bro are just going to take this for free. I mean, Krako is coming in now. He tries to rocket belt steal it by himself, but you could see that the team's part wasn't really in it. They weren't really pushing in to try to contest that one for DRX.
So what we're talking about as well, DRX, in an attempt to gain control of the pit after Bro was able to get mid-prio, means they got to tank a couple of saplings, right? So Umpty gets a lot of value, and as they are trying to clear, you have Karas kind of on the side, harassing as well, threatening, and nothing to be found. Therefore, DRX, Fade, as mentioned previously, hasn't spiked just yet, and even if he does, Umpty is going tank after his initial demonic embrace. We have Effort with Guardian, and in a great position, very well fed as Lulu, so let's take a lot of lethality away. That's a big spike for Fate, but it comes a little bit too late, and now gotta be the next Drake for DRX, but eventually that's not happening anymore.
What was I just watching? Karis was like the artillery for Henna, who was the infantry, just throwing out the culling behind him for zoning purposes, as that was probably about to run out. But yeah, a pretty slow mid-game where we're at right now. Feels pretty good for Bro, I would say, although I still do have that inkling in the back of my mind that Rascal might just carry this game.
Yeah, because if Bro take an ill-advised Baron, get poked down, and they don't even need to like die in the Baron pit, and Rascal gets a high-risk play off on the side lane and just starts shoving, you're in really big trouble. Because outside of sending at least a bunch of people over, no one can match him, right? You see playing very far forward, playing very aggressive. Morgan does keep up in terms of experience, which is nice, but don't know if that is going to remain the case. And even though I do think the individual matchup is very snowbally, as long as Morgan can hold on, things are fine.
Here we go. Looking for a very early Baron, but it is immediately spotted by Umti. Just going to put down the control ward and say no to that. Rascal, kind of unfortunate. Morgan has just been using his dash to just dodge Counter-Strike. Generally a good idea. He's not trying to do like the whole predict game with the riposte and stuff like that. He knows he's behind, just wants to try to avoid as much damage as possible and have some semblance of lane presence and not get dove under turret. Although you can see that Rascal is definitely kind of itching to push this one.
And we have settled into a very familiar territory for any Bro lever, which is the Bro mid game.
Yep.
Where we just push,
this is
wait for 5 minutes until the next objective spawns.
Yeah, this is the Giga Chad does nothing for 10 minutes, wins the game anyway.
Yeah.
Moments. Or, you know, just loses as well. That's also a possibility. As Rascal is coming on in here. He is going to take down the turret. Morgan was not able to hold on to that. And so Rascal really trying to put a timer on the side laning of this game. Whereas Bro are just looking to wait out until their area gets even more fed. As a nice little cocoon, this is the possibility. Down goes the Maokai. I mean, he's decently tanky, but still the amount of burst damage and poke that DRX have can amount to a dead tree.
But does it matter, Valdez?
It feels good.
It feels good.
They took the gold lead.
They did take the gold lead. But that's it. They are not able to take control back because a lot of them were pretty sufficiently chunked out by some of the Brion members. And there's no objective on the map right now. Well, there's Baron, but taking Baron when you only kill Croco.
Here we go again.
Yeah, that is the one way you can definitely lose the game as Bro, is just walking into cocoons. Should not be a thing with the current game state, but Croco finding some creative angles, which is quite nice. As, yeah, very straightforward. Umti trying to get a little bit cheeky with a sapling poke. Gets hit by a sudden cocoon. CC chain is good. As a result, the immediate kill does come through. But as mentioned, DRX will now have priority moving into the river. So this dragon should be theirs. Or at the very least, their odds of getting it should be way better. But you think Brion cares about giving up one measly dragon?
No, again, you know, do nothing for 10 minutes.
They're playing for the 7 dragon win condition. They're playing for the Elder Flip though.
Yeah, exactly. They know their comfort zone. I mean, they've done this a million times.
And Baron is up, so do need some people. I do like just sending Rascal over here by himself is the best call that you can make. He has teleport, so if they do actually hard commit, well, let's go in, and looks like that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, they're going to commit to it. They had Fiora on the top side too, so Morgan can just join this pretty easily. That looks like a pretty large shock blast, even though we didn't quite get to see it with the vision.
Flip this into an Elise.
Any flippers as Croco's looking for it? He's not going to get it, actually. That was looking pretty good on the timing, but down he will go. As at least Rascal got the Hextech Drake, but Bro in a fantastic spot now.
Oh, Bro. Well, it worked, so I guess it's a good play. That's what we'll leave it at. DRX made the call not to have Rascal actually TP in. And now they're going to get punished heavily, but if Croco does get that steal off, and it should be slightly favored towards him, in terms of getting that off with the execute that Elise has, you just instantly lose the game. as Brion. So it worked. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Not good for the nerves of any DRX fan. Bro fans obviously don't care.
They've been through this so many times before.
Winning is secondary, Valdez. Brion is first.
They put on a good show for the fans. Pikachu. Let's see. A little bit early from Croco, actually, it looks like.
Yeah, 600 health. Easy smite for Umti. Also, Fade going in a little bit early there on the Shock Blast. Maybe if you time that, we can try and find a good angle, but not going to be the case. And this will be an okay gold lead for Bro, but they really generally hit their stride with second there. First Baron.
Regardless of composition.
Yeah.
They're actually going to respect Rascal here, even though he wasn't
I'm not kidding, by the way. I think they'll get like a 4K gold lead. Maybe 5 if they're able to pick up the bot lane side as well.
Henna is so incredibly fed right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's about to hit his 4th item at 29 minutes, and he has gone for this Shield Bow Bloodthirster build, which basically makes him unkillable. Makes for a very tanky Zeri, actually, with all the lifesteal and the big shields. As Fate is split pushing here, it's actually pretty nice for him. As Bro are here as a 4-man unit, I suppose they've got Fiora on the bottom side. But Morgan not quite able to take down the turret, and Rascal is chasing him down as Grand Challenge has to be used. And the first inhibitor actually goes to Fate, it looks like. As now chasing here is Duck Dom. Looking for a little bit of a play onto Umti, but he is fast enough. So trading inhibitors against Baron, very good actually for DRX.
Nicely done there by DRX. Able to, not even Rascal, who we thought was going to be the split pusher, but instead Fate sticking in his lane. And just gets a top inhibitor, which is going to make the next Dragon Take way better, right? As far as inhibitors go, mid inhibitor is definitely the least valuable one because you're going to be fighting for mid priority never in anything that you do. So does mean that Morgan at the very least is going to have to expend a teleport, or maybe Karis, depending on who they want to shove into that side lane when the dragon spawns in about 2 minutes. And overall, Bro get the Baron. They get a lead, and most crucially, Henna now hits his 4th item, which I do think is quite big.
Yeah.
And I still think that Bro should be favored in teamfights. But I also don't think this game is even remotely over.
I think we're still at least 15 minutes out.
Yes. Oh, this is a like a full-on extended version of a normal LCK game, right? It's real. That's just how it goes.
And, I mean, you know, jokes aside, I think it does show a little bit of Bro's almost reluctance to be aggressive. As I say that, I mean, they're going to push the buttons here on this turret at least, as the Nature's Grasp comes forward. They're trying to get this inhibitor, as Henna is pretty far forward. You can see that DRX are inching up, maybe looking for an angle, as the Cocoon will miss. Henna, again, still actually quite tanky with the builds he has gone for. As here's the tidal wave, it's actually only going to hit the Lulu, and the follow-up tidal wave, even better, as Beryl is totally zoned and immediately taken out. Henna now 6-0. Here's the TP. They're trying to get in this. Henna going 1v3, maybe a little bit too far ahead, as he's going to take out 2 people, and the TP doesn't do enough.
That's going to be it.
Rascal goes down. Karis able to buy time with the Zonyas, and Henna, my God. This guy is on a rampage today. 7-0-2, he just flashes into 3 people, says, yep, I have enough lifesteal, I will take them down. And this will be game number 1, going into the hands of Brion, as Karis does dive the fountain. Very nicely done. And I actually caster cursed the long game for Brion. They pressed their buttons and ended it, Chronicler.
Literally, as you said,